Have you ever heard of a car called the Toyota Century? It's a luxury car available only in Japan, so don't get sad that you missed it.
Our Century is a singular automobile representing the height of Japanese sensibilities. Born as the pride of Toyota, Century has become the pride of Japan.
Originally, it comes in a sedan and is exclusively used to chauffeur wealthy clientele in that country. But Toyota has opted to upgrade the sedan into an SUV in the next auto year. Toyota is keeping a tight lid on the details, but here's the little we know, so stick around.
日本の歴史に重ね合わせれば、それは明治維新です。ご覧ください。新しい時代の幕開けです。
Toyota's Century is a limited edition national car that made its debut in 1967 to celebrate the big 100th birthday of Sakichi Toyoda, the Toyota boss.
Of one of those individuals, first introduced in 1967, Century commemorated the centenary of the birth of Sakichi Toyoda, founder of the Toyota Group.
As such, this swanky ride could only be driven in Japan. Back then, if you were a rich Japanese car lover, your choices were pretty limited. It was either you ended up cruising in some Western luxury car, or you simply settled for the Century sedan. That is, if you were part of the Japanese glitterati.
It allowed the customer to curate their own personal experiences, both practically and emotionally. And the result is a flagship like no other. It's uniquely Japanese.
The Century has always been Toyota's chauffeured VIP ride since its inception. In the old days, it had a V12 engine, but in recent times, it went all green with a hybrid V8. And now, the guys at Toyota have finally outdone themselves and turned it into an SUV by way of progressing with the times.
It wasn't enough. They needed to embrace Japan's heritage and cultural values to create something completely new and unique.
But does this luxury car interpretation stand a chance in an already crowded hypercar market? At least, wealthy Japanese folks swear by it. And what's even more, the classic sedan isn't going to be discontinued now that its SUV variant is here.
They want space to converse, but also to escape. They seek space to think, but also be inspired. And they value privacy, but at the same time, they embrace public life.
As for this new Century upscale, it's a bit like a luxury tank, big and cozy, but it only seats 4. And the back seats practically turn into thrones, with features like an entertainment system and a mode that makes bumps on the road feel like gentle nudges. Toyota sure knows how to spoil its passengers.
Take off your shoes, fully stretch out, and recline into a cocoon-like environment, your own private oasis. And these features are just the start.
The 2024 Century SUV is set to give those Bentleys and Rolls-Royces a run for their money. Auto experts are saying this ride might just steal the show. It's got the same classy look as the Century sedan, but it's bigger and bolder. Equipped with quad LED headlights and taillights, it comes in shades of black, white, and silver.
A completely new direction, but still very much a Century. And together with the sedan, the new vehicle was worthy to stand at the apex of Toyota, the two wings of the Phoenix.
Step inside this luxury car contender and you're in for a treat. It's got seats comfier than your grandma's sofa and a back seat that can turn into a bed if you're feeling sleepy. In short, the back seats are on a whole new level. This is because they are literally set like thrones. There's so much room back there that the chairs could actually be swiveled if need be. For instance, the left side back seat can go all the way down like your favorite recliner. You can't do that in the regular Century sedan because of something called couple distance, which is the space between the front and back seats. This means in the SUV, they've given you 4 extra inches of it. The Century SUV has also been packed with soundproof materials, so it's as quiet as a library in there.
As the quietest car we've ever made, Century is the perfect environment. At any speed, occupants can converse naturally without raising their voice.
Plus, they've used special glass that makes it even quieter, so your guess is as good as ours. It's as quiet as a library inside, just like its European counterparts. The Century is undoubtedly Japan's most luxurious car, yet it doesn't even have a big-name Lexus badge. You might recall that the Toyota company makes Lexus cars too with their understated luxury. It turns out the Century will not be carrying the Lexus flag, but will remain an out-and-out Toyota brand car, like the humble Corolla. Now, if we're going to get real, the Century Century has always been the perfect car for folks in Japan who prefer to keep things low-key. It's always been a hit with the older, yet wealthy crowd who like their luxury with a side of modesty.
And last impressions that they imbue. The elegance of the transition from public to private realms is an art in itself.
Even today, the newest Century doesn't scream "look at me" when placed side by side with the Lexus LS or other even more worthy luxury rides. As an added incentive, the Century even lets potential customers play designer. So aside from the 3 classic colors, there are a few more options for those who want to go all out. You can also pick how you want the back doors to swing open, like a regular car does, or like the sliding doors of a minivan.
You can even choose your own door, whether that's the ultra-wide swing door, or maybe something a little bit more dramatic.
Toyota's even testing us with a sporty prototype, just to keep things spicy. And although it kinda looks like a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, this Century version certainly has its own style. Now, when you hop inside this beauty, get ready to be wowed. You've got not one, but 2 big 12.3-inch screens, like the ones you see in the Crown and the Grand Highlander. The steering wheel might feel familiar as well in comparison, but most of the interior is custom-made for the Century SUV.
He knew that Century had to change, but he also believed that it had the potential to move with the times without sacrificing what it stood for.
What about the upholstery? They're heavily covered in so much leather, it's like a cowboy's dream come true. Apparently, this ride costs more than most Lexuses, so you better believe it's got the finest workmanship. So essentially, they've put this impressive center console in the middle where all the magic happens. You've got controls for everything right there, and the passenger area is like a VIP zone, separate from where you put your personal effects. Sadly or not, the engine isn't some big V8 like the Cullinan or the Bentayga. It's actually a 3.5-liter V6 plug-in hybrid, and it's the same one you'll find in a Lexus. The guys at Toyota didn't divulge the exact power numbers, but it's close to 400 horses, which is pretty good. This suggests you can treat it like an electric car within Tokyo City and go about 43 miles without using any gas. But when you're on an out-of-town road trip, it turns into a hybrid and sips gas like a champ. And to sweeten the deal, there's some tricks to make driving even more fun. For instance, dynamic rear steering that makes the car feel smaller when you make a turn. And they've included a rear comfort mode for the back seat folks. It makes the ride super comfy, like riding on a cloud by being gentle with the gas pedal.
Together with 4-wheel steering, 4-wheel drive will allow professional drivers even greater control over vehicle dynamics, providing an even smoother ride for all passengers.
So it's not news anymore that Toyota's got a new kid in town. Apparently, they're selling the incoming Century SUV with all the trappings that made it a hit with chauffeurs in Japan during the preceding years. But here's the twist. They say it's not just for being driven around. You can get behind the steering wheel too. And because it's a plug-in hybrid, this means it's kind of like an eco-friendly car for the discerning.
Within this, the role of chauffeur-driven mobility, it can't be underestimated. The car is an expression and an extension of customers' values.
With all that having been said, Toyota is definitely aiming to stir up the luxury car world. Compared to the 2023 Century, this new SUV rightfully takes its place as the big brother of the sedan with more space and swagger. But here's the cherry on top. You can customize it however you like, even paint it in 2 tones. Suffice it to say, Toyota's not messing around with this one. But is it worth the money? Let's zero in on this Century SUV and the big shots it's trying to compete with, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan and the Bentley Bentayga. Honestly speaking, there's not much room for competition, especially when you're up against a Rolls-Royce with its big V12 engine. The Bentayga isn't messing around either, with options like a V12 engine or a more down-to-earth V6 plug-in hybrid, just like our Century SUV. In addition, our Century SUV isn't rolling on some exclusive luxury platform. In fact, it's as good as your grandma's Camry, yet Toyota is only making 30 of these bad boys each month at the Tamera plant. Talk about exclusivity that may just as well beat the likes of the Cullinan and the Bentayga at their own game.
The opportunities are only limited by your imagination. If you want to drive the vehicle yourself at the weekend, the GRMN will certainly not disappoint. The possibilities are endless and open.
Starting price is a cool $170,000, which costs $142,000 more than a typical Camry, to put things in perspective. So is it worth it, you might ask? But the real question is, would anyone pick a so-called high-end Toyota over a Bentley, a Rolls-Royce, or even a Lexus? You be the judge of that. End of discussion. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.